This is Sound Has No Sound. Good day. I trust God that you are fine. Let's discuss 3 things that you should never allow a friend not to do. 3 things you should not advise a friend not to do. You should realize that a proverb is not a rider to the discussion today, but along the line, proverbs will naturally pop up here and there. But I just decided to make it topical today. It is still sound has no sound. 3 things you should not advise a friend not to do. 1. You don't advise a friend not to buy a piece of land or not to build a house. You don't tell a friend not to buy a landed property. And I will drive this point home by the story of a young struggling woman and her then prosperous husband. The young woman married into a polygamous family. The husband had many wives, all of whom were illiterate. She was the only one who was moderately educated and quite young, far younger than many of the senior wives. She was struggling. She was a teacher at the time the man married her, but the man made her to quit the teaching career, and she was supporting the husband in his business, and so supporting him in every way. I don't want to go to the details, but at some point later in life, the woman would always point to a piece of land on which a church had been erected. The woman would always point to that church and said, the land on which that church stands would have been ours. Now would have been mine, the way she would say it. She wanted to, somebody had come to her that the owner of the land wanted to sell the land, but she didn't have enough money readily, so she ran here and there to raise the money, and when the money was complete, she just decided to tell her husband, and the husband said, you buy a land? What for? In fact, the story says that the husband boasted that the prime areas of the city in the future were already in his custody, and that no member of his family would ever need to buy a land. So he discouraged the woman from buying that land. So for many years, the woman regretted not buying the land, and so whenever she's walking or driving past that location, she would point to the land and tell whoever is with her, that land would have been mine. In fact, after the woman's demise, all of the people she had told the story would also still remember that place as a piece of land that should have been that woman's. Later, the church built a bigger church, and they relocated and they sold that place off. And then a bank emerged on that piece of land. Even after the woman's life, all the people she had told the story will still look at that place where the bank sits upon as a piece of land that would have belonged to that woman who was already dead. So if your friend comes to you and says he or she wants to buy a piece of land, there are questions that you can ask them so that you lead them to the decision that the intending buyer may consider the most appropriate. You don't control people with your advice. You can ask questions like, who is selling this land to you? If he or she tells you the person that is selling the land, then do you know this person? Has this person sold a land to someone before that you knew? Did it turn out well? Who connected you to this person? Because alátiṣe ló ń mà ti ṣe ara rẹ̀, ọwọ́ ẹni la fi tún ìwà ara ẹni ṣe. You don't just say, don't buy the land for no reason, but you can ask them critical questions that would make them see better before they pay the seller. Why do you like this area? Why do you want to buy the land? If she says, well, electrification is already done and there is water in this area, and there are a lot of decent people in this area, and it's a beautiful landscape, and the weather there is cool, and so on and so forth. You may also say that, do you know that a ritualist den or a bandit den was recently uncovered not far from that location? If she says yes, she knows. So aren't you bothered by that? That's another question. If she says it's not my portion in Jesus' name, or Sani Satani, or Subhanallah, or then you may also go ahead to say, so what do you think you are going to do to prevent any evil from that angle from reaching you? She would tell you. You may ask question, but at the end of the day, you ask them, so what do you want to do? If he or she insists that he or she still wants the land, then you may say, have you involved a lawyer? Have you sought the counsel of other people, which may include those who already have houses in that area? Because there are times that you just see fine houses. Some of the people in the fine houses are regretting coming there. So you may also push him or her to think of seeking further counsel from professionals and from those who have been there before him or her. He or she may need to learn from what those people did to prevent any evil happening to them. These are the things that you may do. You may think ahead of them, but you also lead them to see what you have seen. Because if you just say, don't buy that land, and at the end of the day, a building as tall as the World Trade Center emerges on that land, that person that you discourage from buying the land would continue to see the amount, the volume, the cost of their loss lost as the value, they continue to see the value of their loss as the value of that World Trade Center, which ordinarily they could not have been able to afford. Maybe if he or she had bought the land, it would have built a 2-room bungalow or something not bigger than a hut on it. But because you discourage them from buying it, they will continue to count their losses as the value of the World Trade Center that later emerged on it. So you don't control people with or by your advice. You lead them to see what you have seen, and you still respect their opinion. You still, so what do you want to, you also listen. So what do you want to do now? You listen. When you listen, you have to listen well. If you know that, you may even say, well, do you think I'm buying that to live in? I'm buying it for commercial purposes, just to save my money. I will sell it later. You know, because he or she now understands your fears, and he may come out to tell you that the fears are not necessary because he or she is not going to live there. That's all that you need, that your friend is safe. You don't just say, don't buy that place. You know, I told you, don't buy it. You don't know all. Yes, he or she might not have seen all that you have seen. Just the same way that you don't also know all that is inside of the intending buyer. You don't know. You don't know whether he want to buy it for a purpose different from what you thought. So forever, if you control them, and if they are so simple to listen to you and just forsake the dream, then in the future, when they get wiser or when they see better, or if something so beautiful, so gracious emerges on the land, they'll continue to say, I would have bought that land. It was Nancy that discouraged me. I would have bought that land. It was Joel that said I should not buy it. If Joel said you should not buy it, what did you know why Joel said so? And if Joel told you why he said so, if Joel told you why he said you should not buy it, what did you tell yourself? Joel had some considerations. What were your own considerations when Joel was saying that? And did you try to persuade Joel to also see things from your perspective, from your angle, so that Joel's fears would be allayed? So this is part 1 of 3 things you should never tell a friend not to do. Tomorrow we'll take the second one, and the day after we'll take the third one. That's it on Sound Has No Cell. I'll see you again, and very soon. But remember, àtẹ́lẹwọ́ ẹni kì í tán ní jẹ, ọwọ́ ẹni la fi ń tún wá ara ẹni ṣe. Alátiṣe ló ń mà ti ṣe ara ẹ̀. Bó bá kọjú sí ẹ kó o tá, bó bá kẹ̀yìn sí ẹ kó o tá, bó bá kù wọ́ nìkan kó o tún èrò ara rẹ pa. That's it. Bye for now, and have the most rewarding day.